What's up guys, and welcome to this week's Saturday special where we will be looking over the biggest winning and losing pots of this week for the challenge, and also after that we will have a look around the HUD and investigate the Poker Tracker HUD. If you have Holder Manager, they basically do the same kind of thing, things might be in different places and stuff, but if you look around or Google it, you'll still be able to find where the functions I'm going to show you are. So that's basically the plan for this. We're making it maybe a 20-25 minute video. So this are the hands for this week, about 6k, and we are going to start off with the biggest winning pots. So we'll start off here. I never do any kind of, I never look at these before I record the video because I like to do this, spontaneously. Okay, so we have 6-8 in the big blind here, and we're 7-handed. This is a full ring 5-and-L table. So we've got an open from this guy over here, Anvix, and a call from Keffer66, who at first glance seems like a fairly loose player. As you can see, we're playing pretty tight at the moment. So we call as well, which is fine. I like this call because we're deep stacked, Keffer's deep stacked. Between us two, we've got 141 big blinds to be won there, and Anvix has also got 99 big blinds. We're multi-way, so although we're out of position, I don't necessarily mind seeing a flop. I think that's fine. So yeah, I'm happy so far. So we check. Anvix then bets 15, so slightly under half the pot, giving us great odds when Keffer calls. We've now got fantastic odds. As you can see there, 4.13 to 1. So we need 19% equity in the hand to call. Now, Tid our flush, we have got way more than 19% equity. So this would be an easy call, but I actually elect to raise it. I actually prefer a smooth call in this spot. I think we want to keep both players in. I think if they've got like hands like King 9, we're never getting a better flush draw to fold, I don't think. So really, I think I prefer a smooth call here in reflection. We're also building a massive pot out of position against two opponents. I'm not happy with my play here. I'd just like to make that clear. A flat call is definitely the best play, in my opinion now. Oftentimes, when you look at hands afterwards, though, the best play does become a lot easier to see. When you're at the time, you've got 4 tables going whizzing around. Halfway through a 3-hour session, it can be a little difficult. But obviously, with this fantastic hand, I probably would always have flat called this if it was just a flush draw. But it also happens that I've got a gut shot as well, and in fact, the straight flush draw. So I think this is fine-ish, but considering we do actually have the straight flush and the straight draw, I still think a smooth call is probably best, because we want to keep these guys in the hand. Keffer folds. I guess we're going for some fold equity, despite our very good draw. But our equity decreases a lot on the turn, obviously if that's a blank to us, which it is. So we lead out with a 130 bet. I think this is fine. It's a good card to bluff on because it's an overcard to the board. So if he's calling our raise with like an ace 10 or a queen 10 or something like that, a top pair kind of hand, I think this is fine. Good card to carry on bluffing, but this size is a bit suspect. Maybe we could make it smaller, perhaps like a 110 bet, $1, 110, something like that. And Anvix does call, and obviously that king is a pretty good card. I mean, the only hand I'm realistically worried about here is king 10. I don't think he's calling our raise on the flop with king 9. I don't think he's doing that. he would be calling it with King 10, and he would also be calling on turn bet with King 10, so I'm slightly worried about King 10, but not really too worried. So we just go all in here. He's got 293 left, which is the reason for the shove. So he, you know, relative to the size of the pot already, his stack is a lot smaller than the pot, which is why we just jam it in. Any other play is pretty poor here because you're leaving money on the table. We're just trying to stack him here. Yeah, so he calls it off. I can't remember this hand, but yeah, I'm going to say he's got a maybe 10-9. A hand like Ace-King, potentially. Something like that. It's quite hard to put him on a hand here. Could have Jack-Queen as well. I think those are the three most likely options. Ace-King, Jack-Queen, and 9-10. There you go, Jack-Queen. I think I'm actually getting pretty good at hand reading skills. What's really good, what really unnerves opponents in live play is when you just call their hand out. I've done that once before and it was really satisfying. But yeah, that was I'm pretty much putting him on one of those three hands, and I beat them all. And the other one, of course, was King 10. But if I put him on a range of 4 hands, and I can beat 3 of them, we're definitely good off value shoving that river. So we win a nice pot there. And we are going to now go to this hand here. So yeah, there was a couple of mistakes I made in that hand, I'm not going to lie. There was a couple of mistakes, as I pointed out. So here we're 6-handed. Yeah, 5 NL tables. Again, we've got Queen 10 suited. Really nice hand, this one. I love the Queen 10 suited. And we're in middle position here. Second to act. And so this is a pretty standard raise for me, 6-handed. As you can see, I've actually been playing a looser game at this table. I do like to mix it up sometimes. I feel I modify the type of game I play based on the table I'm at, usually. If it's a loose table, I'll play tight. If it's a tight table, I'll play loose. And you can see to my left and right, I've got 2 fairly loose players, but the rest of the table is pretty tight. So I decided to loosen up a bit. So we get a call from the button and then a squeeze from this tight player, Alexander N. We don't have much data on him at the moment, though. We know he 3-bets aces, but actually, to be honest, in a multi-way pot, I will take my chances against him having aces, you know. Because Queen 10 is a hand that flops so unbelievably well. If we can get good pot odds, which means we think Gracias 22 might be calling, I'm happy to take my odd, chances against Queens plus, because we could really deal a number on him if we hit a straight flush 2-pair, something like that. Unfortunately, Gracias does fold. I thought we'd be giving him enough odds to make this call in position, but he clearly didn't have a good enough hand. He must have been calling me quite light, which is fair enough considering I've been pretty loose. I also thought he'd call because Gracias had been tilting a bit previous to this, which did factor in my decision making this call. I thought he would call more a wider range. So anyway, we see the flop. We're in position, and it's pretty decent. 10 Jack Queen King with backdoor clubs as well. I feel like when he bets, he's got... I don't think he's doing that with queens because he's got showdown value. I don't think he's got jacks based on the tiny sample size we have. He could have jacks, so I'm not completely ruling them out, but most likely I think it's kings, aces, and ace-king. And the reason I call this bet is A, because it's only half pot, small bet. We're getting good odds to chase our draw here, if you notice. Odds of 3-1, 25%, and we have far more than 25% equity. We can do a bit of number crunching using our equity calculator. Let's. I just want to show you, this is one of the features of Poker Tracker that you can use. If you go on Tools, you can find the equity calculator, and basically this just helps you work out how much equity you have in a given situation. So we put Jack of Hearts, King of Clubs, 7 of Spades, And my hand is the Queen 10 of clubs, Queen clubs, 10 of clubs. And then if we put our opponent's range at aces, kings, and ace king. Oh, these are all done as well, aren't they? Aces, king, and ace king. So it's a pretty knotted range. It's calculating it. Right, it's taking a while, but basically you can see we have 29.5% equity against this hand. There you go, 29.49% equity. And we need 25% equity in the hand to call. So as you can see, this is clearly a profitable call for us. So that's how you can use that. You just go in here, an equity calculator, and then you plug in the hands and so on. It's a really helpful tool to work out whether you made a good call or not, because obviously you can't do those in-depth numbers on the spot usually. So anyway, I'm happy with the call here. It's clearly a good call. We have 4.5% more equity than we need, so good. Now obviously that's a great turn, because it brings our straight with a flush redraw. And indeed the straight flush draw as well, just in case the flush isn't good enough. But yeah, you know, I'm certain we're ahead at this point. He checks, so we decide to bet. Now, based on his range, if he has kings, I don't see why he would check this. If he's got aces, again, I'm not sure why he would check this. I think he might just continue betting. The board does get a bit worse, but I think he can still get value from a lot with any of those hands. So I'm a bit confused as to why he's checking, put it that way. But because I can't think of a hand he would do that, I'm just thinking he's still on the same range. He's just playing it in a bizarre fashion. And he's obviously playing it very cautiously. So I'm still putting him on kings, ace, king, and aces here. Possibly slightly more weighted to ace, king. So I feel like I can get all three of those hands to call here. Well, four, because ace, king, and ace, king suited. But the same hand, basically. So I feel like I can get his entire range to call with this. If his range was just pocket kings and pocket aces, I think I'd be able to get... I'd make this $2, maybe $2.20. But I'm trying to get ace, king to call as well here. And it does call. Now, when he leads out here on this ace, it just looks like he's trying to get it. To me, this is something he could do with ace king. But he could also be doing this, to be honest, with pocket kings, although it'd be a bit weird timing. He's trying to say that that ace has helped him in some way. So I think now we look at ace king and aces. And I think the strength we've played it at, it's more likely aces. So this is what I eventually put him on. I eventually did put him on pocket aces, which he, I think, had in the end. And obviously we beat pocket aces. Had pocket aces. So I think that shows, these hands I'm showing at the moment show how important hand reading is. If you can work out what hand or narrow range of hands the opponent has, then it becomes a lot easier to size your bets, to make the right bets, raise when you need to, and also fold when you need to. So hand number 3, got pocket queens in the cutoff here. Again, 5 NL table. We raise. We get 3-bet quite big, but, well, actually that's standard out of position because you want to be 3-betting bigger, as I've discussed in my videos from out of position. I mean, for me, I'm 4-betting, and I'm not happy when he does that, but to me, he could be doing it with ace king, and I've said that queens is an auto stack off at this level, so I just jam it in. He calls. Yeah, this was brutal, because he had pocket aces. This was a mega suck out, this one. Obviously a fantastic flop for me, the best flop that doesn't have a queen. 9-10 jack gives me an up and down straight draw. So I've got loads of outs now. I've got 4 8s and 2 queens, that's 6, and well, 4 kings as well. So I've got a lot of outs at this point. So that's a great flop for me. And it comes on the turn, 8, 9, 10 jack queen. And there we are. So it's a bit of a suck out. Not too much to say about that, really. Six five suited. You may have heard me mention I love these little suited connectors. I'm a fan of small ball poker, which is a Daniel Negreanu philosophy. You know, don't get involved in too many big pots. Just try and play lots of small pots pre-flop and try and flop monsters. So we are in the small blind. Gets raised to 10 cents here by this guy. Gets 3-bet to 30 on the button here. Now, I decide to call this because I'm hoping that this guy is coming along as well. I'm cold calling, so it looks like it's going to be a multi-way pot because this guy might well be calling as well. He's quite strong, I'd imagine, because he's only raised 1% of his hands pre-flop, and he's raised this one. And obviously this guy's very tight. We've got a good sample on him, and he's a very tight player with a 4% 3-bet. So I'm thinking they're both very strong, which is why I call with this, because I'm thinking if I can get a 2 pair of set, a straight or a flush, I'll be able to stack both these guys. So yeah, I'm probably putting them on ranges of, basically 10s up, ace jack up for him, and jacks up for him maybe, and maybe ace king. And this is obviously brilliant. So we just flop the straight, the actual nuts right now. So the first guy checks, this guy bets 45 cents. I'm thinking, there's a good chance they both got overpairs, so I'm trying to just get value at the moment. 130 here is my bet. I raised quite big because I want to keep this guy in, so it's not massively big. I'm just hoping they both have an overpair. This guy calls. This guy folds though, which I'm surprised about because I had his range really strong. But I guess he must have had ace king, would be my guess. But yeah, at this point I'm definitely putting this guy on an overpair. I mean now, 6, 7 is the nuts now, so we don't have the nuts anymore. But he's not got 6, 7, so he's not got that much left compared to the pot. We just put him in. He calls it. He had ace 8, which was a bit surprising considering that was his. He called a 3-bet, and it was his only open there. So it's a bit surprising. So he still had outs when we got it in on the turn actually, because he could have won with 7. But yeah, it was a good pot. I think I played that pretty well. This is another 5 and L6 max game. Aces here, always nice. In the cutoff, it's actually 5-handed here though. We're pretty deep, and this guy over here is pretty deep. This guy here is pretty deep. It's a pretty deep table where the average stack is over $6. So we raise, obviously, with aces. This guy 3-bets to 45. He's very tight over 20 hands. You can see he's only played 1. And his 3-bet range is KK. His 4-bet range is KK. And so I'm thinking he's a pretty solid tight player. Wait, hold on, what happened there? Okay, yeah, so I 4-bet. He 5-bet shoves, I call. He shows pocket kings. Standard cooler. Very nice for us, obviously, because we're both deep stacked, so I actually win a massive amount there over a stack at 5 and L. So that was the good side. A couple of really interesting hands in there, which I hope I've managed to talk through, in a couple of nasty hands as well. So, AK. I think what I will actually do with the HUD is I will do a separate video on that, because this video is taking up quite a long time, and the program I used to record bugs out whenever I spend more than like 40 minutes on a recording. So we've got ace king. This is a full ring game. at 5-0. Is it a 5-0? Yeah. So we've got ace king under the gun. We raise. We get called straight away. We get called again over there. Flops 10, 6 king. Pretty good flop for us. You know, flopping the king. We can get value from worse for sure. So we bet 30. It's fine bet size, and we get called by 30. And then we get raised to 95. Now, at this point, he could have us beat. There are obviously things that have us beat. Sixes, he could have, because he was, you know, it was a multi-way pot. Us two here were already in the pot when he called. So he could have pocket sixes, and he could have a club draw as well. And he could obviously have a worse king, like king queen, something like that. He could have a straight draw with jack queen. So I'm never folding here, just because there's so many worse hands he can have. I put it 250. He shoves it in. At this point, I think he possibly has sixes or maybe a club draw with the ace of not the ace of clubs, like the queen of clubs, something like that. Because obviously I've got the ace of clubs, which should actually have factored into my decision more. Now, what he actually had was pocket tens, and this surprised me because I didn't have that in his range. I feel like when we're like me and this guy here are already in the pot. Tens is a hand you want to play heads up, because anytime an overcard comes, like on this flop, with the king, like any flop with a king, any flop with a queen, any flop with a jack or an ace, is bad for your hand. You don't know where you are. So you always want to play tens heads up, and I'm pretty shocked this guy didn't 3-bet it. 3-betting there would be mandatory, I feel. Now the reason he didn't is probably because I opened under the gun and this guy called from second position. So I suppose that is slightly more acceptable, and maybe I should have put it into his range, but I just felt he would have 3-bet pocket tens. Did I play that badly? I don't know whether I did play it badly, considering there were a lot of draws out there. And he could have been doing it with king queen. He could have had king 10. I mean, I think I definitely have to make it 250 there. Maybe when he ships it, but am I not pot committed by that point? I think I'm pretty much pot committed, because if you look at the I need 22% equity to call it. As in, I need to win the hand 22% of the time. I feel like I'm going to win this hand 22% of the time. So I think I actually played that fine, I'm going to say. Let me know what you think about that. It's an interesting spot. So queen's here. Raise. We are 5-handed. We get 3-bet here to 50 cents. Pretty standard from the big blind. We 4-bet to 130, as I say. Queens are a stack off. And we do indeed stack off. Oh yeah, this is fun. I can call that a caller. Full house against quads. Obviously, like, if we'd have played that hand, that I would have got stacked, whatever, you know. I'm never getting away from when I, get a set of queens and then river a full house. But naturally, this guy's got kings, and that was just a standard caller, I feel. It's so annoying seeing that queen and then seeing that king as well. The worst thing would have been if the two kings had been turn and river, though, because that would have really been annoying. It would have been a re-suck out. I sucked out and then he would suck back out. That was a fun hand. Death by quads, eh? So again, my suited one-gappers love these hands. It's a multi-way pot here. Getting a loose player by looks of it, and although we can't tell from 7 hands, so we don't know. And this guy as well. So yeah, we'll take a flop. I like to take a flop here. We've all got over 100 big blinds, you know, so 2-pair, top 2-pair, on a rainbow flop. So this guy bets out, I raise, because I don't like playing top two pairs slow. I don't like slow playing it on a multi-way, in a multi-way pot, because I just feel that, you know, anyone with a straight draw, or a hand like ace 10, king 10 has got so much equity against me. So I want to get this in right now. I'm happy to stack off. He calls though. Five's an okay card. It doesn't immediately bring any hands in. So it's not too bad. Apart from pocket fives. We bet $2 for value. This guy ships, and at this point we're definitely pot committed. We need to win the pot 18% of the time. And I couldn't figure out how we would be beat here. I just couldn't. This guy's a solid player, so I was giving his raise credit. And, you know, I was giving like a... I just had no idea. I thought maybe a set, unless he had the 6-9. That was my... I was thinking mainly sets and straight draws, good straight draws. Maybe jacks. Or possibly like a 10-7 or a 10-5. I was thinking he would have played this way. And obviously 6-9 was in his range as well. He had set of sevens, so there you go. Yeah, I think... Could I have folded? You have to be the judge of that, but... I don't know, I think I was surprised he didn't get sevens in on the flop. That's the reason I didn't think he had pocket sevens. I didn't think he had pockets eights or tens because I have the blockers. You know, I've got an 8 and a 10 in my hand, so it's more or less likely he has that. So if I had to put him on a set, it would be pocket sevens. But I just didn't think he would call. I thought he would shove on the flop with, you know, a very straighty board. But he didn't, and that's fair enough. We lost our money there. Again, I'm just going to say that's a cooler again, pretty much. I think funny thing is, like, all of these hands where I've lost, I've probably played better than the ones where I won big pots, because I found a lot of mistakes in the hands where I've won, if you remember. So pocket aces, there's an under the gun raise from a tight player. We 3-bet, obviously. This guy calls, flops 10-10-2. So we've got an overpair obviously, and backdoor hearts as well, backdoor nut flush draw. Goes check check. And you know, we now hit the backdoor nut flush draw. We can definitely bet this, I feel. 60 cents. I mean, if we just go back to the flop a minute. Let's take these away so we can see the actions, because they're right in the way. Yeah, I check here because I don't feel there's much that can call us. The only thing that's going to call us is a heart draw or a 10. We've got the ace of hearts, which blocks a lot of heart draw combinations. So I'm just hoping he picks something up on the river. Now we could have a heart draw with like the king or queen of hearts, which will call. So we give him two good odds to call. I think we need to make the hit bigger, because at this point I'm putting him on a heart draw if he calls. So I need to make it $1 maybe 90 cents. Give him the wrong odds to call, but give him odds that he'll want to call. He calls. So I'm a bit confused about this. I'm thinking, did he check back a 10? Maybe he checked back a 10, but then I 3-bet, so it's quite likely I have an overpair, so wouldn't he have just raised me with a 10, bet with the 10 on the flop? So this is why I didn't think he had a 10. I now bet for value. He ships. I think this is a bluff. You know, I think it's a bluff. I call. He had pocket 10s. Death by quads for the second time. Again, the reason I took the 10 out of his range, well, 1 10, let alone 2, was because we 3-bet pre-flop. He knew we possibly had an overpair, to that board. So I thought he would have bet the flop. But he didn't, and that was a good move. And actually, I said in the comments, well done, nice hand. That flop check confused me. I seem to be running into quads a lot this week, don't I? So that's the reasoning for that. Now, last hand, this was a massive pot. We lost 540 in this, well over a stack there. Got Jack 10. I've been playing pretty tight at this table. 18-12 is pretty tight for 6 max, but I've been playing very aggressive, 3-betting 10%. And again, the reason for that is because there was a lot of loose players on this table. This guy. And I think, yeah, this guy had just joined. So the player there before him was really loose. You're talking like 60-20 or something on his stats. And this guy was going all in with literally anything. He was going all in with king 6, bottom pair, stuff like that. So anyway. Oh. So we get there's a raise from a very tight player, actually, a nitty player, you might say. And then there's a call. And the reason I call this is because Jack 10 flops okay. Even when it's unsuited, it flops alright. But this guy, I wanted to get in a pot with him so much. I was just trying to get in a pot with him every time. I think at one point I even called his raise with 9-3 suited just because I wanted to get into a pot with him that badly. Because he was, if I hit my 9, he was just going to go all in with anything, you know, like, so I was just really relishing the chance to get in a pot with this guy. Hence the call. I usually, if it had been another player here, I wouldn't have been calling there, but I really wanted to get this guy in a pot. And we hit top pair. This guy bets 20, very small bet, it's very small. And this guy calls, you know, top pair, I'm not folding here. I tried the squeeze play. I'm thinking this guy might have ace-king, hence why the small bet. Ace-queen. He's been 3-betting a fair amount, he might even have ace-jack. Or king-queen. And I know that this guy will call if he has anything, and because he called there, he probably has something. So my aim with this dollar bet is to get this guy out and to get maximum value from this guy, which I think is a decent plan. I just didn't count on this guy calling, this guy going out. But then the turn card, obviously Jack 10, so we're now ahead of his aces, kings, queens. And he just massively overbets the pot there, just massively, like twice the pot nearly. So I'm like, well, whatever he's got, I don't give a shit, because this is, you know, I can't think of a hand he would have in his range that's better. He could be doing this with ace-jack. He could have kings, queens, aces. And he had pocket fours. I mean, can you imagine this tighter guy having pocket fours? It just didn't cross my mind at all for the 4s or 6s. And obviously I didn't think of jacks or 10s because I had a blocker for each of those. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys would have put 4s anywhere near his range. I did not put any small pairs in his range just because he's so tight. Just look at those tight stats. But there you go. I got owned. But again, I think I didn't really do too much wrong there. I think my plan was good and it didn't work out, but then we hit top 2 pair and I don't see how we could have got away from that based on his range, which was over pairs. Pretty much his entire range we beat, so I don't see how we could have got away from that. So that's my thinking there. Now, because I don't want the video to time out, I'm going to stop the video here, but I will do a HUD video, possibly in like a tutorial series. Could maybe do that in the next thing of Coaching Corner, which will be out next week, I believe. So I will see you for that. I will do it, but it's just I don't want the video to time out. So I hope you enjoyed those hands, and goodbye for now.